Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening for our Brave Leader discussion and award ceremony and reception afterwards. My name is Jeff Waz, and I'm honored to serve as president of the Colorado Business Roundtable.
I don't think leadership is about who and what we are when we're on stage or when we're running for political office. I think it is what we are when we're off stage.
What do you do when the values of the corporation are different than your own personal values?
I probably wouldn't work there.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
You would have a conflict with
Yes.
your corporation, and you would err on the side of your own personal ethics,
Correct.
risking the end of your career with that company.
Correct. I guess I would very strongly believe that if the culture of an organization is the values played out, I would pick a company with the culture and with the values that lined up with my own, and I don't think I could ever work in my own mind for somebody whose values were different than my own. But I always give everything what I call the 60 minutes test. If 60 Minutes knocked on your door and asked you why you made the decision you did, would you be proud? Would you be proud of your decision? Or would you feel like you couldn't defend what you had done?
I bet each one of us in this room has somebody we carry in our head. For me, it's my father, who was an extremely ethical man. Kind of my version of the 60 Minutes is, would my father approve of this? What would he say now?
I am too small to go to jail, and I realized that a long time ago. And I don't want to go. So those things are things that I kind of think very, very hard about.
So there's the 60-minute standard,
Yeah,
there's the jail standard, but they seem to work.
They work.
So some of you may or not remember when I was Secretary of Transportation, I had to deal with the exploding GM pickup trucks. Some of you remember that? Anyway, so the decision came to my office. The person who was in charge of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had to recuse himself, so I had to make the decision. And it was my judgment that at the end of the day, we needed to sue GM. The only problem was I needed the permission of the Justice Department, the official lawyers for the government. And the Justice Department lawyers came back and said, Mr. Secretary, we know you feel this way, but the data is not quite clear. We're not going to sue. Sometime later, a long, long time later, reflecting on that time in my life, I asked myself the question, should I have resigned as Secretary of Transportation? Did I not fight hard enough for something I really believed in? Tough decision. And today, if I had to do it again, and I believe that strongly about it, I probably would have resigned.
If you want to move the ball forward and if you want to actually do something in a public policy context, and I know the mayor would agree with me because we've talked about it, you have to be willing to take risk. And risk may be the fact that you don't get reelected. It may be the fact that a whole group of people think you're a jerk, and you'll have to live with that. But if you believe, in your inner core what you're doing is right, then you're willing to take that risk, I think. And you should be willing to take that risk.
You've got to take that intractable problem and you've got to reframe it into a solution. So I think it was a matter of analysis, intuition, talking to all the parties.
So I spent some time alone, thinking, and Chancellor Chop, I think, just framed it perfectly. You have to sit and diagnose the challenge as well as the opportunity. Not so much the pros and cons. I mean, you can think about those if I go this way, but really, what's the opportunity here?
You have to enjoy and find joy in what you're doing on a daily basis, or else you're doing the wrong thing. And it's important. You can take the job seriously without taking yourself too seriously.
Yep.
And I think that's important too.
My advice to all of you is err on the side of your ethical standards with the best information you have at that moment. You may come to regret it, as Ralph Carr did, and he was defeated. You may come to suffer other consequences, as other people have done when they make tough decisions. But at least you can go home to your family. You talked about going home to your family. You can go home to your friends. You can go home to yourself and say, this is what I believed. This is what I did.
I think it boils down to a couple of things with people who tend to really struggle with ethics. One, they're more concerned about being popular with some group or another. And I always say, if you want the antidote to being popular or the desire to be popular, have children. They ground you very quickly and teach you that it's not so important to be popular, but to be right.
I think leadership is having the courage the heart, to live with heart. That's the word courage. It means living with heart. And it's real openness to the empathy.
A city employee came to see me, and she made this very simple comment: sometimes people need to believe or just know that you believe in them.
You have to rely on the three tripods of life: faith, family, and friends. And those are the three things that keep you grounded in life. They keep you humble. They keep things in perspective. And the great thing about those three things, faith, family, and friends, is that those people will be with you on your best days, on your worst days, on the days in between.
What a great event, and I know the governor really regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. And if he was here tonight, I know that he would be humble and say he doesn't really deserve this award, but because he's not here, I can, on his behalf, tell you just how brave he has been. And he has been remarkable. I've worked alongside him now for about 6 years, and I think we only need to look back a couple of years to look at the challenges we faced together as a state. The fires, the floods, the mass shootings, those incredible tragedies where we needed somebody to stand up in front and say, you know, we are in this together, and we are going to overcome this together. And I think that shows remarkable bravery. Bravery is something that we don't know whether we have it until we're faced with circumstances we don't want to face. The governor certainly didn't want to face those circumstances, but when he did, when we all did, we stood together.